welcome to another episode of Showreel. From Africa to Antarctica, caveman to contemporary, there's something we all seem to love about the world around us and how we got here. Be it documentaries or animated movies, the oceans, animals and everything in between have been a hit with audiences worldwide. On today's show, we'll be reviewing the animated prehistoric adventure film, The Croods, and we'll discuss the world-renowned nature documentaries of Sir David Attenborough.
Today's guest is a documentary buff and a producer here at 31 Digital. He currently produces Fishing the Dream, a weekly show that explores the broad array of fishing available to anglers throughout southeast Queensland. From the sea to the studio, we're very lucky to have him here on Showreel. Welcome to the show, Fraser Clark.
Yay.
Thanks.
So Fraser, tell us about Fishing the Dream.
Well, Fishing the Dream, it started out as an idea in my head, and we're looking at all the different fishing shows around. We're like, how can we make a fishing show different to other fishing shows? So we stripped it right back and, well, let's go to the amateurs. Let's go back to the basics and teach the beginners on how to get into fishing.
So it's really sort of, you don't have to be a big fishing buff and know everything there is about fishing and be hardcore into it to follow it?
No, well, look at me, I can't fish either, so no, you don't have to be a hardcore fishing buff at all, but if you are, I guarantee you'll still learn something.
Excellent.
So Fishing the Dream is heading into its second season now. What do audiences seem to love about it?
I guess because it's local. Everyone loves people seeing fishing their own fishing spot, you know, and people like seeing other places in Brisbane where it's been fished or where they haven't fished before. I think a lot of people like the exploration side of fishing, so it was really cool. We went up into the dams, went into the bay, we went offshore, we went down Tweed. It was really good.
Awesome. Now, I actually went away this weekend for the long weekend. I went to Fraser Island and I had a hand at fishing. I think I'm a little too noisy to fish because there were no fish there. Tell us some of the great places that you've taken the show to locally.
Well, Wivenhoe was pretty special. Like the scenery out there was just amazing, and to see the devastation after the flood and everything starting to flourish again was beautiful, and all the wildlife, like we saw so many snakes and all crazy eels and stuff like that, so it was really good.
Oh wow.
You're involved with a new program called Frequency. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Frequency's in production at the moment. It's a music show, but it's more about sound itself, you know. It's not so much about the bands and just showing bands off. It's about sound design, it's about music production. We're showing off a few of the studios around here in Brisbane, and it's more just talking about people getting into music and just little tips and tricks on what to do.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that studios aren't something that people would see easily around the city. It's not something you'd probably identify there being a lot of, but is there a big music scene for recording and making music in Brisbane?
Yeah, absolutely. Brisbane's got some great bands and some great areas to record. Some of the high-end studios are here in Brisbane, so and there's a couple of low ends too, so I think it's quite good to have that variety of to choose from, whether you got the money to spend at a big studio, but you don't really need the money to spend at a big studio. You can still get a really good sound from a low end studio if the guys know what they're doing. And
I guess a lot of people who are starting up bands or starting out in their music career, they might not know that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this show's focused at the DIY guy that's in his bedroom recording, you know. So we're going to go through a few of the different interfaces you can use, different instruments and how to record instruments, how to mic up amps, maintain your guitars, maintain your leads. So it goes into a bit more depth than just your average music show.
So we might have some budding young artists at home that watch you, and we'll see them at the big day out in a couple of years' time.
Well, I hope so. That'd be pretty good.
Now, from fishing to sound, it's a bit different. How is Frequency different to the other projects you've worked on?
Well, yeah, that's a good one. Hey. Fishing the Dream, you know, out against nature, you're out against all odds. You're competing with so much elements, like you've got the wind, the waves, it can be quite a nightmare. Clouds come over, you've got to change your camera settings, and it's really on the run. With Frequency, you know, it's more studio based, it's more set up, it's inside. We can control the sound, we can control the cameras, so we've got a lot more controlled environment in Frequency compared to Fishing the Dream.
Now, what is probably your craziest experience out doing Fishing the Dream?
Oh, craziest. Well, we had a couple of these speedboats that they're called skeeters, and they've got 250 horsepower on the back, really light fiberglass boat, and the guys are just crazy, just whoa, everywhere we're going, every fishing spot, whoa, on the accelerator. We were just like holding on for dear life, and the weather was cold. It was like, because it was just coming out of winter, so it was still a bit cold, and your head was numb, and the guy was driving like a maniac. But it was pretty fun.
And does a good episode rely on the catch?
Not necessarily, because the show was about introducing fishermen and amateur fishermen. So if we weren't catching, I had to get the guys that we were fishing with, I had to get them talking, you know, because if we weren't catching fish, we still had to make, because we only had 1 day of shooting, right? So we only had 1 day window. So if we didn't catch anything, we had to get as much information out of the co-host that we could possibly get. Like, because if you're sitting there just casting all day, and it's a pretty boring show, so we really had to get the guys talking.
But a catch is bonus.
Oh, absolutely. A catch was bonus, definitely. So,
Awesome.
but we did catch, there was only 1 or 2 episodes where we only caught 1 or 2, so yeah, it was quite hard to edit, going back into the editing suite to go, oh, how am I going to make this story work? And with 1 fish, you know.
Is there a particular fish that you catch a lot of in the local area around here? Is there one sort of native?
Yeah, snapper's pretty common around here. The flatheads are pretty common as well. So yeah, you get a good mixture here in Queensland, because you've got the tropical waters, and then you've got the waters from the southern, the cooler waters all merge here in Queensland. So yeah, you get a good variety up here.
Queensland weather is notorious for being perfect one day and scary the next day. What kind of challenges does that pose when it comes to things like lighting and sound?
Yeah, well, because it's you're out shooting in outside, you really rely on your natural light. So every time I sort of go out, you look at the sun, you go, oh, well, where can I set up? Where you got to get the guys? Can you point the boat this way? I need my cameraman here. I need him to shoot this way, because I can't
Just turn the boat around a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Trying to get in the right spots, but also too, you got to be where the fish are. So yeah, you've got all the elements against you. The wind was one of my major problems. It was like, I can't have a show and it's just through the mic, you know.
Like a wind tunnel.
Yeah, and no one wants to sit through that. So yeah, always having to get the guys the mics as well hidden as possible and out of the wind as possible was one of my biggest challenges, was definitely the sound.
That's got to be tough.
Now, we are on Showreel. It is about TV and film. So what kind of shows do you like to watch?
Well, I like a bit of variety. I like the sort of cartoons, like The Simpsons, of course, because you know, they're one of my favourite. Grew up on The Simpsons. There was the Spartacus was another good season that I really liked, season 1 and 2. I don't know if they've filmed season 3 yet, but I was really into that. That was really cool. And yeah, I like cars. Car shows are always good with me.
Yep. Awesome. And have you discovered a sort of a new genre of music or anything new that you like doing frequency?
I've seen a lot of studios, which what I'm really interested in is the different ways that they can produce sound and how sound works. Is, I guess, not so much a new sound, but how it works, how it travels, how different studios set up compared to like with their space and how they work it. So.
Now, I went to Harvey Bay over the New Year's and I broke my fishing rod before I even got to cast it. What advice do you have for amateur fishers?
Don't put your fishing rod in a fan. Just keep them away from fans. Just get out there and do it. Live bait. Use nice light gear. Like don't over fish what you're fishing for, because you know you don't need a big heavy rod if you're fishing in the estuaries. But always go to your local tackle shop. Ask them what's around, what's working, and they'll always give you the best advice. Yeah.
Sounds like good advice. Well, that's all we have time for, but we'll be back in a few moments and take a look at the new movie, The Croods.